Hey folks, Kevin here with Fabrk AI. I'm back. I had to relocate. I lost some internet, so this is the second part two of the Trello tool and agent generation. So this is just a video to kind of show how I build tools, build agents, and this is not done in any way, so it's kind of like building on the fly. So I'm just going to talk through kind of how everything goes, but there may be areas of pauses and debugging and all that sort of thing. So just a disclaimer. And then this is starting about halfway through, or at least half. There is a beginning video. So this is part two. So check out part one if you haven't seen that one. But we're going to jump back into where I ended. So so here I have the Trello agent, and I was mentioning in the last video that when you create an agent in Fabrk, you can use it right off the bat. And so I can just say like, okay, great. You can see here that I said hi there, and it said, hi, can I assist you with your Trello task today? And so here we go. So it says I can manage your boards or cards or integration with other tools. So that's not entirely true because there's no tools assigned to it. So if you click on this little wrench icon, you can open up your tools here in Fabrk, and you can see what tools are assigned, and these are the available tools, and there's none that's assigned. And if I scroll all the way down here, I don't even think there's a Trello tool that's created here, so there isn't. GitHub, Notion, here's GitHub, here's let's see, a bunch of other tools, schedule, email, all sorts of stuff, but nothing with Trello. So I'm going to add that now. And one of the things that is not available now, it's December 12th of 2024 in Fabrk, is the ability for folks to basically create their own tools. It's coming soon, but for right now, really all of these kind of have to be kind of handcrafted. So I'm going to create one, and I'm going to make the visibility public. And again, this is in development. This is not in production. So this is kind of my development database in Supabase for testing things. So I'm going to call this Trello, and let's see, description is tool that interacts with the Trello API to create and update boards. Okay. The function name, this is unique to each tool, so each tool has to have a function name that corresponds to the function it's going to get created in the database or in the server. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So in this is the function name for this AI get GitHub file, and that corresponds to the actual function that's going to get called. So I created a Trello card, create Trello card here, and I'm going to basically name it the same kind of structure here. So AI create branch, AI create branch. So I'm going to call this AI create Trello card. The first thing we're going to do is create a card, and I'm going to talk through exactly why we're going to do that first. Create card, and then the type is, I'm going to call this productivity, if I can spell. And I'm going to call it create Trello card. So this is the slug. Again, this is also unique, but the slug is more for how it's represented. If you do make it public, this is how the URL structure will look for this tool. We're not going to put any context. So tools don't really need context unless you need some specific kind of context around when the tool can and should be called. This is kind of inferred most of the time by the AI, and so I most of the time leave the context blank. Over time, we are going to allow folks to kind of build up their, kind of like GitHub, where you go to GitHub and you can see the repos that people build. You can create kind of a repository of your own agents and tools, and then that's what's going on here. So this is the created user. I'm going to put it as me for now. Again, this is the dev environment, so no one's going to see this, but I just like to make sure that's complete. So the parameters, I'm just going to leave that blank just for a second, and I'll show you why. All right, connection type. So this is going to be, I believe, credentials. So, and then the Nango ID. So we don't need that. The Nango ID is when I'm connecting to OAuth, I use a service called Nango, and so that requires like what ID is this provider. So for GitHub, it's GitHub. For Twitter, it's Twitter/v2. So that's that. Credentials means that this is going to use some specific credentials that we're going to pass in to connect to this agent. So we're going to save that. And we have a couple more things to do. So we didn't add the parameters, so I'm going to add those now. And I'm just going to look really quickly. You know what? I'm going to AI create branch. I'm just going to copy this over to this Trello, and I'm going to post it below the curl requests that I have here. So, and I'm going to just start renaming stuff. And a lot of times in VS Code with the GitHub Copilot, it'll help you basically just like flush all this out. So it's going to be AI create Trello card. I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename this here, create Trello card. Now, if I get rid of this and I start typing, there we go, look at that. You see that? So that basically inferred about what I'm trying to do here. So create Trello card, I'm assuming needs the board ID, the list ID, the name, and the description. Create a new card, post Trello. I don't know if this is even here. Oh wait, is this it? It's not. It's not like in the, so one kind of good trick that you can do if you have GitHub Copilot is post like the pseudocode or even like a curl request above the code or somewhere in the file of what you're trying to do. And then it will, when you actually go to code the thing in a different sort of language, or it will be able to infer what you're trying to do. So often, like, let's say something's in Python and I'm in JavaScript, I'll put the Python code above it, and then I'll, put this and I'll start typing, and it'll get the rest. So pretty cool. All right. So anyway, so this didn't do that though. I don't think that I have the create card post request up here. I have this, but this is not that. Or wait, is it? Trello lists backlog. Oh, maybe it is. No, that's create list. Okay. Anyway, so it looks like it just did that for me. So hopefully that's like the right structure. All right, so we're going to rename this to create Trello card. And then we're going to, so this trigger event is a Nango function. So we're not actually going to do that. So we're actually just going to use the, actually, you know what? This is a good question. Does Trello have a like Node SDK? Let's see. Node.js. Okay. Node fetch. So I would assume that it does, but I'm not going to look too deeply. And then also, if you notice, a lot of times with these API documentations, they'll put the SDK code here. But this node fetch is fine. I think that this is fine for my use case, and I don't mind doing this. I'll just like scope out these. So let's just see. I can't remember in my server code what, if I'm using like Axios or node fetch or one of these libraries too. Looks like I do have node fetch. Okay. But I think I also have Axios. You know what? Since the documentation is using node fetch, I'm just going to use that. So, okay. And actually, if you'll notice, this file is in the Nango repository. And so this isn't exactly where I want this to be because it's not Nango involved, and that's going to be confusing going forward. So we got to think about where it needs to go. But I think Trello is going to be a little bit of a bigger, we're going to need a bunch of tools for Trello. So I need a folder basically to put it in. And I don't think that it's going to be part of the API, right? Like, I don't think we're going to need an endpoint that goes and gets like a Trello board. That's not part of like what Fabrk is. And so I'm going to put this somewhere else. So like, for example, coding, I put E2B in there because I don't think we're going to need an API that actually like integrates with E2B. That's more of what the API is basically like client or public-facing API documentation, that sort of thing. So I'm going to put this somewhere else, and I don't really have a great place for it. So there's Sybase, there's Slack. See, you're seeing that I'm putting like services at this high level. I don't really like that. I think it's fine when it's like coding or email or something like that, but I don't want to like get into the habit of posting because we're going to have lots and lots of integrations, and so I want a better place to put this. So let's just call it integrations. I think that's actually a good start. And let me just see what branch I'm in here. I am in develop. Okay, good. I'm just going to move Slack into integrations. And then this is going to, here we go. I'm going to say always. So basically all the imports for Slack, I guess there was only one, get updated when you do that. So, all right. So, okay. So that's that. Oh yeah, right. What were we doing? We need to move this Trello to the integrations directory. Here we go. And okay, there's Slack. Let's just make one for Trello. And here, okay. And the convention I use, this is a node server, is basically a controller, repository, route, and service. Actually, the high levels route, which is basically all the routes, and then those go to the controller. The controller are just the response and request, usually, hopefully, and then that goes to the service. Then the repository is basically like the integration with the database, or in the case of a third-party API, it's like the raw kind of interface with that third-party API, and then service is the in-between layer between the controller and the repository. So like if you wanted to parse the output or something like that, or if there was a bunch of different repositories, API calls that you needed to make, you would use that in a service. So I actually think for this, we are, and this is in there, yeah, there it is. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna need a service, so I'm just gonna do a repository. So I'm gonna call this the Trello repository. Okay. So this is actually going to be where all this stuff is. So I'm just going to take all this and we're going to put it in there. Okay. And actually, I'm going to copy over from those API documentations, like the high level code here. Here. Okay. You'll notice with this API documentation that it's just like this free floating fetch. But usually you're not going to do that. You're actually going to create a method or a function for that. So let's just call this export function. We're going to call this create card. And we don't know what we're going to pass in yet, but it's going to be something like this. Okay. And then usually, this is just standard programming. You'd want to set the base URL. So I'm going to say base URL. I'm just going to call it Trello API base URL. This is why I love, what's it called, Copilot, because it just put that in there. I don't have to go looking for it. And if you think through that, just a little bit of a tangent, of all the times you just autocomplete, like how many seconds does that save you? Probably so many. So this is making me so much more productive. Also, another power tip, a lot of times when I'm trying to write emails, I'll just go like this. I'm like, like, hi, Mike. I'm just checking in. How are you doing? So you notice that autocomplete, it didn't do it yet, but it'll continue to autocomplete for you. So often I'll actually just type in VS Code, and then it'll write what I'm trying to do. Okay. Anyway, so here we go. So this doesn't belong here. This belongs here. Actually, we'll put it right here. And okay, and then this needs to be decomposed here. So I'm just gonna ask it for a bunch of different types of slugs. So I'm gonna say the, do I really need this? Yeah. Card endpoint. Yeah, there we go. See, look, I knew exactly what I'm gonna do. Sometimes it knows what I'm gonna do before I know what it's gonna do. List, endpoint lists, board endpoint boards. Perfect. Okay, so here, I bet you this is going to do this. Bam. All right, cool. And then we'll do that. All right, so basically what did this do? So this took the base URL right here and then assigned the card endpoint, and then it gave it a name and URL compatible. Actually, that reminds me, so make the name URL safe. There we go, okay. And then also we're starting to figure out what we need for the actual request. And let's see, node fetch. I'm just gonna look to see here how I'm doing this. Node fetch storage, here we go. Okay, oh wait, I'm just awaiting it. And then it's a buffer. Okay, I think I'll just do that instead of doing this. Oops, where were we? We were here, okay. So I'm just gonna await. Or actually, you know what, I'm going to put it in a variable. I'm going to call this the response equals await that. Okay, and then I don't have to do all this then and stuff. And then we're going to do try catches on them. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to just do const. We're just going to do a header so we don't have to do this all the time. And that's going to tell you application JSON. There we go. So we're going to get rid of that. And okay, now we're going to pass in the parameters. So name, description, so for this method, this is going to be a method that's actually used in the AI. And typically what you would do is for this type of method, you might put the API key in the environment variables. But the connection ID, which is the token, is going to be variable. And I think that's the second one. No, that's the key. And yeah, so the keys first and then the token second. So let's just add that so we don't forget it. What's the structure? It's token equals. Just, oh, and we need ampersand, token, there we go. Okay. And so we're actually going to pass that in, the token. Okay. Token, perfect. We're going to interpolate that. Great. And then the API key is something I think that we are going to, I'm just thinking through. The API key is specific to the app. So what I'm thinking right now, I'm just thinking out loud, is users can either create their own app or use Fabrk's. I'll show you what that looks like. So if I go to my board and go to power-ups, so users are probably going to use Fabrk's power-up just because it's ready to go. And then in that case, once they enable it, they'll get a token, and then the API key will just be our API key. So good news is I already added it. So I think it's called Trello API key, pretty sure. And I like to do it this way. It's not, I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but anyway, I do it this way. So, so then we're going to import this. And we're actually going to do key. Here's the key. We're going to do this. Here we go. And then this should be able to pull that in. There we go. All right. And then let's see. So for the card, we need name, description. We also need the list ID. List ID. And that's going to be this guy here. List ID. Okay. All right. And then also the name. So name, and we don't have the description. Let's just go back, look at the API docs here. Create a card. Create a card. Name, description. Let's see how this looks. Where did I writing the name cards. Where do you put the stuff? Creates a new card. Query parameters may also replace by a JSON body. Okay, yeah, let's do that. That's way better. So basically what that was saying is I don't like to do it in these like kind of query like, so you can pass in the name and that sort of thing, but I don't like to do the actual parameters like that. So we're gonna do this. I think I just deleted one too many. ID list, no I didn't, okay. Okay, so it's gonna go into the body of this. So we're gonna do maybe this method, okay, no, this is body. Is body in here? Yeah, okay, there we go. Great, so it did it for us. Let's see, yeah, look at that. See, a lot of times this Copilot knows exactly what you're trying to do. So there we go. So name, description, and then the response. I'm just gonna do like a try catch on this. Try. And then I'm gonna log it, and then I'm actually gonna return a message. This is important. A tool for AI, you should pass back the error message and not throw an error. You should pass it back to the pass it back to the agent. And so what it can do is if you do a really thoughtful error message and it's like something that's messed up with like the parameters, it can self-fix it. I've seen cases where it'll try to call the tool again based on what the error message is and then have success because it was able to pass back the correct parameters. That being said, I'm going to show you, I said I was going to do that in this case, but I might actually just throw it in this because I'm going to catch it in the actual tool calling. So you can see here, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to throw it here. So I'm just going to throw, and I actually want the error in there. Okay, that's fine for now. We're going to test this. So I'm going to pause here and we're going to do a part 3 and test this actual function. So I'll see you in a second.